platform out there. And despite that they're very young, they both joined VMware in 2013 to become a precious part of their user experience and interaction design team. So I've known one of them kind of forever, as we're very dear friends since high school. And the other one is somebody that I met recently, but is a very funny and vivid character. And let's welcome on stage these two dedicated UX professionals telling us more about metaphors and user experience, Deyan and Georgi.
Okay, thanks everyone. My name is Deyan. This is Georgi. As Stefan said, we're interaction designers at VMware. Our presentation is titled Metaphors That Are Alive. So, first I started with a definition of what a metaphor is for the purposes of user experience design. I'm sure most of you have already heard this definition, but I'm going to say it anyway. So here's how it goes. A metaphor is a ray of sunshine reflected from the placid lake of life, straight into your eyes. So that's a joke. And now let's go into the examples. So really, what do we see in our daily jobs as designers? First, there are global metaphors, such as the well-known desktop metaphor. That's an example from Xerox Star. What we see here is calculator, inbox, outbox, documents, files, folders, printers, everything. All of this is arranged on a desk. So this kind of resembles how a really big and cluttered and messy desk would look like in real life. Another example is how the icons look like. So they're made to resemble stuff that we use every single day in our daily life, such as a floppy disk. And then we have the action names themselves, which are stuff that we do, for instance, copying, pasting, moving stuff around, reordering, so on. Well, the answer to the question dead or alive, that's really easy, they're dead. Why? So, first of all, they introduced unnecessary constraints. Take a look at this example here. It's an interface from a PDA device that was used in the 90s. That's why it's black and white. This is for touchscreens. So what we see here is, again, we have this desk with a phone, a calendar, notes. We see stuff in the room, like a filing cabinet in and out for email, for mail. We have a couple of drawers here for paper and for calculators. Everything is here. Also the dumpster truck and the Aladdin's magic lamp. So this is made so you can feel comfortable with the software and so on. So what happens if I want to play a game? Where are the games? I guess I could take a look around. I cannot see them anywhere. So I guess I have to get out of this room. Everything is made like in real life, so I'm going to start searching for a door. There is no door. I can't see it. There is no space on the screen to fit it. So now we notice here in the top right corner, it says hallway. I guess we can go to the hallway. And we go to the hallway. And now I have to tap left and right and go all the way through the hallway, left and right, past the library and past whatever door there is to reach the game room. Now I can enter it and maybe find my game inside, start playing. After I'm finished with playing, let's say I want to browse the internet. So where's the internet? Is it another door? So again, I go left and right, can't seem to find it. At the end, I see here, it says downtown, so I guess I have to go in the street. So I go in the street, and again, I have to explore the whole city just to find that there is a building called Internet Center. Now I can finally go online. The whole thing is so messed up and so complicated that they have to put a map with a spot that says you are here, just so you can find what you're looking for. So what does this example teach us? It shows how, on top of the constraints that the digital world imposes on us because of the technology, form factor, and whatever, we have voluntarily put in constraints from the physical world. And this is only because we had to use the metaphor and stick to it. Another thing that I'm going to show you now is how the digital world has ported real-world action. So Maggie here will help me and show what happens in real life. And I'm going to show you here on the slides what happens in the digital life. So let's follow the actions now. First, let's highlight some text. So this is how we select the text in the digital world. This is how she can do it in the real world. Then we decide to cut this text out. So this is how she does it. And this is how I do it. Immediately you see some discrepancies, right? So this is a hole here, and we can see the text that she cut out. I cannot see this here. Now I have to trust the technology to have remembered the thing that I cut out. Let's say that I go along with it. Okay, so now let's select the second text again and cut this one out. So this is what we end up with. We clearly see the both texts here, and there's nothing else here. All right. Now let's paste the first text that we cut out after the UXIFY name. This is how she does it, right? This is how I do it. So what happened here? It seems that not everything was ported. It seems that actually the software remembers only the last thing that we cut out. So metaphors are used to bridge the gap to new technologies, right? So so the software relies on you following the real life example. What we see here is clearly the opposite, so they absolutely fail in this case. Another thing about them is that they are not extensible. So check this out. This is an iPad application for radio. And you see the designers here made it really sleek. Looks cool, like old-fashioned, like your grandfather's radio or something that he keeps in his garage. So you have all the knobs, the dials, everything here. Now, what happens if you want to add some streaming or podcasts or videos to the song that you're listening to? Well, you simply cannot do it because you're stuck with this metaphor. The old radio doesn't have a screen, it doesn't have internet, has nothing. So you cannot put anything new that you come up with if you want to stick to this. If you start modifying it, then it turns into some sort of a spaghetti. So next thing is cultural limitations. So we are all different people, we're born in different countries, speak different languages, have different backgrounds. So can somebody tell me what this is? What does this symbolize? Restaurant, okay. What about this? What's this? Sushi. Is it sushi or is it a drum and drumsticks? So how is my grandmother supposed to know that this is actually sushi and this is a restaurant? So of course, if we use metaphors, we limit our software to only our culture. And today, this is not really the best thing to do because we live in a global world. So, moving on. Of course, the last thing that I'm going to show you here is about time dependency. So, it's a rotary phone dialer. Most of you already maybe know it. Hopefully. So, the thing is that when you attach your software to something from the real world, you have to rely that people actually know this. So what happens if a kid sees this? And this kid was born in the year 2000, so he's already 15 years old. He's not a small kid anymore. So that's their reaction. This is a snapshot from a clip. You can search it online. It's called Kids React to Rotary Phones. They don't have any idea what to do with it. They've never even seen a real handle. So, how would this kid dial this number? He might try to tap on those. He might try to drag them up in the input field. I don't know. There's also, if you see here, there are some letters, A, B, C, D, E, F. What's this for? how can I dial a letter? Do I tap and hold until it highlights or something? So how should this kid know if he should turn this? Maybe actually you have to grab this, spin it or drag it to the number that you want, so on. So the point here is that the metaphors only work for a certain amount of time, right? So it appears that metaphors are not the real sunshine. In fact, they are an unfit species. So maybe they made sense once upon a time when the world moved slower, when new technologies came up every 5 years, 10 years, or 100 years. But now, would you really want to tie your software to something that's going to die out in a couple of months? So in fact, as Darwin would put it, metaphors are unfit for today's world. They should become extinct.
So, Deyan said that metaphors are dead, but if they're really dead, then we as humanity managed to kill all the beauty and all the poetry that we have in our life. So nobody will ever hear this words that you
Can you fix the mic?
400 years ago. So the good news is that metaphors are not really dead, and all those rumors that they're dead are just a high exaggeration. And metaphors are not dead because they're so humane. We cannot kill them without actually killing ourselves. Metaphors are related to how the human brain works. Okay, this is working?
Try again. Something.
Okay. It's working. So all those rumors that Deyan is spreading that metaphors are dead and have no meaning are really just a big exaggeration. They're not dead, and we cannot kill them even if we want to, because they're part of us, and they're part of the way the human brain works. So how the human brain works? So metaphors are a primary way of learning for humans. The human brain is not just like a Dropbox where you drop the information that you want to keep, or a hard drive where you just write it, and then you can access it at any time. We use metaphors, we use relationships to remember data. We use neural connections to remember data. What we do is that we relate the new pieces of information to the old pieces that we know, to the old world that we know, and this is the way we remember new stuff. And it is the same way a metaphor works. What a metaphor does is that it connects the new information to the old information and the old experience that we have passed through. And this is the way that the brain learns and remembers. And it's not only the way we learn, but it's also the way we express ourselves. We use language to express ourselves, but the language is not just the words that are in the dictionary. It is this infinite universe of metaphors that we use in our lives, and we don't even notice it, because we are using metaphors like I'm running late, but I'm not actually running late, I'm being late for some event. Or that somebody broke my heart is not really broken, but I'm just hurt. So we use them and we don't even recognize that we're using them. This is the way we express ourselves. And if metaphors can express such deep feelings that nothing else can express, then they can express very complex and abstract ideas and meanings. And this is what they're good at, to express things that we cannot express in any other way. And last but not least, metaphors work not only on the rational level, they don't only work with the brain, they work with the emotions. So if we go back to what Deyan said a couple of minutes, he said that metaphors are a ray of sunshine. But when he said ray of sunshine, I guess nobody here just imagined some stream of photons running with the speed of light in some direction. What I imagined was light, and it was coming from a dark place, it was coming from the clouds, and it was bringing warmth, it was bringing life. So I imagined something very different to the literal ray of light thing that he's saying. And this is what metaphors are good at. They actually can take you to another place in just a scratch, in just a moment, and keep you there. And we could use that. We could use what metaphors do with our brains and ourselves as designers. So what we can do is we could try to create familiarity in the users by using metaphors. And we as users like to recognize things. We like to be familiar with things. And the way as designers we can create this familiarity is by using metaphors, by showing and associating new ideas and new concepts to something that is already familiar or something that is already known to the users. And in this way, we help them. We help them to create some mental models of these new concepts and ideas. And they feel more comfortable and confident to work with our products. And this reduces the learning curve of our products. But metaphors not only create familiarity in the users, they kind of define the boundaries of this product that we're developing. In the digital world, we don't kind of have any boundaries or any rules. And that's why if we put a user in this digital world with no boundaries, no rules, and no end, he will feel lost and he will feel confused. And we don't like that as designers. What we can do is we can define these boundaries to the product by associating the product with some physical, meaningful concept that the user knows. So that when he looks at our product, he knows, this product does this, and this, and it does not do that, and that. And he knows and understands what we are proposing as a product to him. And lastly, but not leastly, is that we could use metaphors to engage with the users on a more deeper and more emotional level. So if we go back to what Deyan said about this old radio that he's shown, that your granddad keeps in his garage, is not really going to be a Spotify competitor anytime soon. Nobody will ever buy it for this reason. But I personally would buy it because I feel attached to it. I feel emotionally attached to the craft that has been done to develop this radio, to the emotion that it brings, to the history that it brings. And I would love to have this old radio just for that reason. And we, as designers, can use that to attach with our users. Users would be happy if they can kind of take a peek in our minds as designers and see the world that we see. And if they do feel that we kind of share some common values with them, then they will love our product, they will understand our values, and they will kind of start buying our product for that reason. And I'm not going to tell you when to use metaphors. I just want to show you what happens if you don't use metaphors, and maybe you should have used metaphors in your design. So this is an application of a digital DJ mixing booth that was designed for iPad. And as you can see, it reflects the physical DJ mixing booth. It uses a metaphor that relates to some real-life object. And it looks just like it. Then let's split this application in two. And on the left-hand side, we keep the application as designed by the designer with all the metaphors in relation to the real world. And then on the right-hand side, let's try to design the same application, but without any reference to the physical world, without any metaphors, if we can. So what we can do is that we can replace this fancy display here with simple key-value pairs that represent the same information, and it kind of works. It represents the same information. It's useful for the user. Then what we can do is that we can replace this mute microphone switch with these standard radio buttons that you can see everywhere. We could do the same for this bass section turn on and off. We could replace this slider that configures the power of the music with this standard stepper UI element. And we could even replace these physical buttons here that are representing the different modes of operation with some standard tabs that you can see in a web app or in a desktop app. And we can replace the new melody or eject with standard plus and X symbols. And then we could also change the way the user interacts with this mixing device by replacing this rotary dial with this standard table here. So as you can see here, these are the timestamps of the music track, and this is the power levels in decibels. And this is where you are at the very track. This is how you see it here. And the power levels. And the way you interact, the way you go back and forth through this track is not by rotating this dial as you would do in a physical world, but by scrolling this table up and down. And then we could use some standard icons to represent simple actions like play and pause and so on, and hide some of the more complex actions in a drop-down menu like here. And finally, we could set the playback speed with this stepper. And as you can see, this application on the right does the same thing that this application on the left does. But I wouldn't imagine that a single DJ would ever use this application. So this application is more like an enterprise level application. It's used by an accountant. It can be used by an IT admin or whatever, but not by a DJ. So these two do the same thing, but they wouldn't be used in the same way. So maybe the motto is that it's not only what the product does, it also matters how it does it. And if you go for and kind of find the moral of the whole story, Deyan has a point that metaphors are not a ray of sunshine. There are many problems with metaphors, but they're also not unfit species. They have their own values, and that's why maybe they're a powerful tool, and we should try to find a way to use them wisely. Thank you.